Hi pretty people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna and I like to talk about books with you guys. And this is gonna be my reading wrap up for February and my March TBR. I always like to do this in one video, so let's get right into it. Let's start with the books that I actually finished in February, which this is a short list. February was not a good reading month. It's just these two and they're pretty tiny, but yeah. So actually both non-fiction. The first was Once There Was a War by John Steinbeck. I'm not gonna say too much about this because it has its own reading blog. So yeah, what is there to say about this? This is non-fiction, like I said, and it is letters, or it is the correspondences from a war correspondent. They are actually just as they were published when they were published during the Second World War in the US. And you should definitely keep in mind that this is written to keep the people in the so-called home front engaged in the war and like in favor of the war. So it is kind of propaganda-ish. But I really enjoyed this, and it's super easy to get through because it's just very short letters, basically, very short correspondences. Most of them are just one or two pages. Some are 3 to 4 pages, but that's pretty much it. Really fascinating to read these, well, kind of looks into time, you know, especially for a generation like mine that is so detached from war happenings. So yeah, I definitely recommend. And the second book I read in February, or I finished in February, was What White People Can Do Next. This is by Emma Dabiri, and this is just, well, like you could guess from the title, this is a book about racism and structural racism, to be specific. I often feel like I don't really have a voice, or like should bring the topic up online, especially because I am a Central European white woman. So I'm always trying to be cautious of about how loud I am about this topic, because sometimes I just feel like there's no space for me in the conversation about racism. But this book again tried to show that being an ally, the word ally is being heavily criticized in this though, so take it with caution, is also like there is space for white people in talks about racism. Obviously you should not try to make yourself center stage and be louder than everyone else in the room, and try to educate yourself more if you want to speak up. And this is what I'm trying to do. This book heavily touched on why concentrating on microaggressions, even though it can be helpful in your daily life, is not what helps us like debase racism as a structure, and that it goes a lot deeper. It touched on, you know, allyship, in quotes, because it's often just fundamented in you know, white savior syndrome and a lot of things. And yeah, I don't really want to try to explain everything to you, because I feel like I am not an expert on the topic, but I definitely always encourage to read up on this topic. Also very refreshing was that this wasn't just completely US focused. I feel like most books I have picked up on the topic are very focused on happenings inside of the US. And this actually also touched on some European topics. And now to the books I read, or like read part of, but like did not finish. I very ambitiously set a big TBR for February in my January wrap up. I did not follow up with that. I actually wanted to read this book, but I didn't pick it up because, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it. I'm a heavy mood reader. Instead, I actually started reading She Who Became the Sun, and I have gotten like, not quite, but like nearly halfway through, which is 163 pages. And I'm really enjoying this so far. This is about a girl in China in the 1500s, like late 1500s, and she has taken her brother's place. She's like hiding behind her brother's identity, so she's hiding that she's a girl, and she went to a monastery and became a monk, like all while hiding that she actually is a woman, or like transitioning from a girl to a woman, which was especially difficult because bodily changes and everything. Now that she couldn't stay at this monastery, she had to move on, still living as a monk, and is trying to claim her brother's fate because he was destined to be great and to become greatness, but he died when they were very young, which is why she was able to take his place. And I am very interested to see where this will go. Definitely liking it so far. The next book I touched on was Madly Deeply, the Alan Rickman Diaries. This is not really a book that you can read front to cover. I've said that already, and I've just been trying to read a few entries before I go to bed, because I feel like this I kind of get more of a diary taste of the book, because if you read it just 20 pages or more in one sitting, the whole diary effect kind of gets lost. And I really like that I will be reading this over a long period of time because it is thick, and as you can see, I haven't read much. I am on page 42 of, I think, 400 something, close to 500 pages. So this will be keeping me company for, I guess, the next few months. But I really like to get these tiny insights in Alan Rickman's daily life, and I think it's just so fascinating what people choose to write down in their diaries. And I just really loved this actor a lot, and I have watched 1,000 of his interviews, and it's just so, I don't know, it's fascinating to get this insight into his private diaries. It kind of feels violating, I don't know, because he's dead. He cannot say that maybe he didn't want these public, but they are now. But, well, it's interesting, so I will keep reading them. And then the next book I started with is actually a maybe to you very boring non-fiction work. It's this huge book, bigger than my head. And it's about composers, or to be exact, the most famous composers of the world, classical music composers. And I have read this much of the book, so not much either. It's about 30 pages. And as you can see, wait, it is huge, right? And there's a lot of text in here too, next to the big pictures. And yeah, this is just about, well, the world's famous composers and classical music evolution, and yeah, that's quite interesting to me. I've been trying to cram every bit of information about classical music into my brain, because if you know, you know. If not, I started to learn the violin at the start of the year, and my progress has not been too great, I feel like, but I've been trying to just get all the music knowledge I can find. But so this was my reading wrap up for February, and let's move on to my March TBR, which again is very ambitious. We'll see if I follow through. So obviously I'm gonna keep reading Madly Deeply by Alan Rickman and the book about the composers, but these are works that I will be reading bits of over like a long time, I guess. I definitely want to finish You Became the Sun, so let's see where this one goes. Then the next thing I picked up, or I want to pick up, is the London Seance Society. This is by Sarah Penner. It says she's the author of The Lost Apothecary. I actually want to read that one too, but I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, and I am currently on a book buying ban, so not gonna get it soon. So this is about two women in London in like the 1800s, late 1800s, and they hold seances. They conjure the ghosts, they conjure the dead, and they do that because they want to fight for justice. I don't really know more about this book because I love going into books with minimal knowledge, you know? I don't really want to read like the whole, I don't want to read the whole back. In this case, it's just reviews anyway, so I don't want to read the text in here. Like I just skim it, and then I want to like just go into the adventure with, you know, bare minimum of knowledge about it. And this is also like a rather short one. It's about 320 pages, so I think I can finish this in March. we have two big fat bitches. I have decided not to take part in the Game of Tomes book club this month because there's gonna be a very big book for that book club this month, which is David Copperfield, I think. But I have my own big books to tackle, which would be a reread of The Priory of the Orange Tree. This time I also want to annotate it. I love this book dearly. If you have been on my channel before, you know that. This is an amazing book. This came out in 2021. I read it in 2021. It holds a very dear place in my heart, and it was a 5-star read, and it will always be. I'm pretty sure of that. So I want to reread this. And why do I want to reread this? Because on the 28th of February, this beauty came out. This is A Day of Fallen Night, which is the sequel to A Priory of the Orange Tree. Only pet peeve, they don't match in size. Like, they're both from Bloomsbury Publishing. Bloomsbury, why? Why did you do that? But yeah, as you can see, both of these are big bitches. So I don't know if this is too ambitious of a goal for this month. It may be, but I'll try to get through them. I will try, for sure. So yeah, I definitely want to annotate this in the second time round now, and then maybe even annotate this one. I'm not quite sure yet. I am so sad. I actually wanted to get the special editions, either from Illumicrate or from the Book and Binding, but I did not get my hands on either of the sets. They were just gone in a blink of an eye, which is very sad. But then again, it helped me stay on my book buying ban. So yeah, I guess thank you for that. So my TBR looks like this for this month, which is kind of cool because it's color matching. That was not intentional. And I'm very excited to get to this one, and I really hope it will be as good as the first book, if not better. So if you are still here, as always, please leave a like and subscribe if you're not yet. And let me know in the comments how many books you've read in February, what is coming up for your TBR this month. I'm always interested in hearing about what you are currently reading. If you've read any of the books I've mentioned, please let me know your thoughts. Spoiler free for the ones I haven't read yet, please. And yeah, I wish you a very nice day and talk to you soon.